Can can you hear me? If can hear us, great. Okay, thank you. So it's to work with this kind of software. So we are already 15. We will wait one or two minutes. Just the others. We are waiting for uh, 5.7. So let's wait another 1 minute, and after that we will start. Uh, I will use it to show you a little bit statistics. Okay, I think we can start now, and the other. So, hello everyone. Yasin. Uh, this evening, this is the first time we're organizing this kind of event. I mean, this online seminars, and thank you to Rocco and Stevie that they help us with this idea. Um, we hope we can meet your expectation. Um, to my surprise, we have participants from different countries. It's I saw you the statistic. We have participants from Greece, Romania, Bulgaria, Spain, North Macedonia, I think, and even Turkey. Not sure everyone is here, but welcome everyone. It's wonderful for us to see the group. Uh, we hope this is extremely useful for all of you. Hmm. So, we appreciate your feedback afterwards. It's very important for us to know what each of you will receive a recording of all the seminars, but of course, real-time value of being here live is a chance to interact and ask your questions to Rocco during the session. Uh, I show you the distribution by nationalities. We have another here for feeling experience of all the participants. You can see we have for the intermediate, we have some advanced users, and two of you are with a beginner experience. But all of us all words about the tools here in software. If someone haven't used before, we have you can ask your questions from Q&A, Q&A button, and it's up. So, but I think that use Q&A, and after the presentation, Rocco will answer questions. The captions, there was questions. You can see button show captions in the middle of your screen. You can turn on. So the button top right. You can activate caption and change your caption language. And you can use can use English subtitles, subtitles depending on that generation you belong to. So if someone has some questions or problems with the software or with the settings, can send me a message or write in the chat. I will leave my phone number here. If someone wants to, can call me. So now I'll pass the floor to Rocco, who will take us through the topic of team management, roles, responsibilities, and goals.
Well, thank you, Yazen. First of all, thank you to all of you of being here. I really appreciate all of the participation and also the fact that you're coming from many countries. And I like the fact that you're interested in sailing, which is also my passion. So we definitely are sharing something. So I want to tell you something to begin. What I will say in this seminar is related to my experience. I want to share you some of the things that I think about during races, during trainings, and so it's quite applicable to my experience. You don't need to take everything that I say here as a rule, because at the end of the day, everyone works differently. So just take it as a starting point where to begin your way of managing a team and your way of sailing in general. One other thing is that I want to give you something useful. So I don't want just to go in theory and speak about general topics. I want to give you some tools. I want to provide you with something that at the end you can use in your events, in your races, in your regatta, at sea, on shore, and from here on. Being the fact that many of you have different experience in sailing, I will try to talk about things which can be understood from any one of you. But if you have more specific questions, more complex question, feel free to use the end of the seminar, the section dedicated to your questions. I would really appreciate to have to reply to any doubt that you have, also if you have some curiosity, and I am here to reply to you all. So let's get into the topic of today. I remember you there are we are organizing 4 seminars. So today we're going to speak about team management. So I will share you some slides. Okay, so can you see the screen? First of all, can you see the slides that I'm presenting? You can chat. You can do a chat to let me know if you see it. Okay, great. So team management. Team management is quite a big topic. It can be used not only in sailing. What I will, of course, what I will say today is related to sailing and to races. I will speak about roles on board, roles on shore, and responsibilities and calls. At the end, I will also give you some tools that I usually use during races that have been proved to be useful, and to give you something more respect to your opponents, and keep everything well organized during races, before and after. So first of all, who am I? I'm a sailor. I'm a professional sailor that from Italy. So as you hear, I do not have a perfect English, but hopefully you will understand through subtitles, and I will try to speak slow. And excuse me before if I don't have all the technical language in English. I've been sailing from when I was 8, and then I began with Optimist. I did 420, and then I got into big boats, so IRC or C, and I did some J70. At the end, I specialized in match race. So now today I'm full-time match racer, and what I do is the World Match Racing Tour, which is a circuit. It's a series of races around the world, in different countries, with different boats. The only big thing in common is that they're all match race, so 1v1. I'm an aerospace engineer. I live in France, and that's it. So I think it was useful for you to know who I am. So the schedule of today seminar will include some key principles to take into account when you manage a team. As I told you, is based on my experience. So I will speak about what I think it's important. It doesn't really it's not really what you think it's important. It's not a rule, so you can agree with me or not, but I talk based on what I think is correct and what is useful. Then we'll speak about the responsibilities on board, which is kind of what crew members do on board, and what do they need to think about. Then we're gonna speak about some pre-race rituals, which I do before my races, and to have a routine, such a like something that I always do in order to be organized. Then I will list some tools that we can use during the regattas. So I will start with the sailing instruction, which is a document that it's something that is everyone knows about their existence, but no one really cares about them. So I will try to give you some hint of what is included in the sailing instruction, what is useful, and also what you can quite almost quite all of the time skip. Then I will talk about when and how to do some briefing before, during the races, during when you're when you're in the water, and then after the races. I will briefly talk about the fact that why it's useful to have videos on board and why it's useful to use GPS tracking, which is something that today we can all have on our phone, of our watch, on our PC. And then I will give you some overview of the checklist. So the checklist is something that we invented as a team, and the day when we invented that, we didn't realize how much impact it would have on our performance. So I will share with you what is a checklist, when to use it, and then we will do a small exercise when you guys you will tell me what you think it is useful to have in the checklist, which item is useful to have. So let's start with the key principles. So managing a team is not an easy job. There are multiple people. It depends on the boat. You can also be alone, but here we are speaking about big boats. So you would have to manage like a team about from 4 person until 11, 12. It really depends on the boat. In any case, every person is different. Every role is different. So I would like to give you like some key principles to expect when you are managing a team. First of all, support. So during the races and during trainings also, there are a lot of difficult moments. So difficult situation, you can do a bad result, you can do a crash. It always happens. I did a crash like 1 week ago, and this is not good for the mood. So what I suggest you, while you are on the boat and also on shore, just to keep the spirits up, because at the end it always helps, also when you have a bad day. Another key principle, in my opinion, is the communication. So the communication must be effective. Just go straight to the point. When you are on shore and when you are in the water, you need to send the message to all of your crew members. So do not lose time in big discussions, especially when you're racing. And also think about what you say. I went a lot of time in some crew in big boats when, let's say, the helm or the tactician is always giving too many information to the crew. This can lead to confusion, especially when you have some close calls and when you are in a difficult situation. Just keep an effective communication. Say 2-3 words, just looking at what you want to do and explain it. Especially when you are speaking about maneuvers. If you are at the helm, for example, and you want to do something, say it before, because the crew needs to know it. If you are in the crew and you are, let's say, at the bow and you have a problem, you need to say it straight away, and you need to say it loud and clear. So communication, I think, is something really to work on when you are in a sailing team. Then there is another principle that I'd like to share with you, is the transparency. Many decisions during the season, during the races, can be difficult to take. I did many races where I changed my crew. Is nothing personal. It's just maybe about experience, about weight, about roles. But what keeps united the team is the fact that you can always count on the transparency of the team manager. So if there is someone that I had in the last race and I will not call again in the next race, just go straight to the point, call him and saying that you will not need him, but be clear, because this keeps the friendship, and also the in the future you can call him back. It will be better like this. And all of these things at the end, they will go into the team spirit. So apart, if you are laser sailing, as a laser sailor or a fin sailor, that you will be probably alone in the water. In the rest of the boats, you are in a team. And even if it seems that some of the roles are more important than others, I assure you that when you arrive at a certain level, the difference is in every single member of the crew. So every single member of the crew counts. Even if one person needs to do one thing and at one moment, it can make the difference. So this is something general, I know, but to keep in mind during all of this seminar, and also when you will find yourself in a sailing team and in a regatta or an event. So here you are. So next, here you will see how I divided the responsibilities. This is applicable to a 6-man crew, 6-person crew, but it can be applicable also to a bigger boat or to a smaller boat. Here we're speaking about responsibilities, not roles. So you just need to, let's say, remove the link between role and responsibility, because someone who's making something, it doesn't mean that has the same responsibility of another person. So here you have the mainsail trimmer, for example, which is someone who is in charge of keeping the boat fast. But together with the mainsail trimmer, also the helmman and the jib trimmer keeps the boats fast. So when I'm racing and I'm in the water, if I'm a mainsail trimmer, I need only to think about one thing. So the less if you think about only one thing, you will be doing it better for sure. So downwind, and they all move the weights. This is important because sometimes it's you forget about this, but the boat, it's way more effective if you steer it with the weight rather than with the helm. In many boats, the helm is very big, so if you move it, you just slow down. So the mainsail trimmer, the jib trimmer, and the helm, they really need to think about this. Then there is a sphere of things that are more, let's say, about decision-taking, decision-making, thinking about the strategy. Here, where it comes the strategist and the tactician. So for those who don't know, doing strategy is different from doing tactics. So strategy is a set of decisions that are took in a long-term time. So the strategist will probably decide where to go in the upwind course, will decide where is the wind, will decide where to start. On the other hand, the tactician will decide which maneuver to do, which mark of the downwind gate to round. So it's a short-term decision. In most of the boats, these two responsibilities are taken from the same person, from the tactician. But it can be that these things are separated. In match race, for example, the helmman is responsible for the tactics. So the helmman will decide what to do in the short term. The strategist will decide what to do in long term. So let's say, I said where to start, where to go in upwind, where to go in downwind. If we are doing a fleet race, we take fleet race tactics. So control the opponents, see where the big groups are going, and think about the rules. This is important because often we do tactics, but we forget about the rules, which is kind of mistake. If you are in a big fleet and you need to go on port on the upwind mark, it can be really difficult. So just there is someone on board which is in charge of this. And then in general, sailing can be like a chess match. So the crew who anticipate the move of the opponents will probably be more favored at the end of the day. So there is someone who needs to think about this. There is someone who needs to project their situation in the future. So then there is, let's say, a more technical sphere, which is about boat handling. So jibing, tacking, hoisting, dropping. So in this sphere, we need to there as you see here, there is the jib trimmer, the bowman, the tactician. But again, the boats can change. We can have two bowmen, for example. We can have a jib trimmer for the starboard and the port tacks. So here we're speaking really about responsibility, not each role of the boat. So in this sphere, as I said, you need to be technical. You need to anticipate everything. Everything needs to be clear, and the equipment needs to be in the right position at the right time. So this is really important. The bowman needs to think about something which is completely different from the strategist, for example. So the less you mix the responsibilities, the better it is. In this sphere, something that really helps is the routine, so the experience. So the experience of a bowman really counts because he can see what is going to happen before it happens. Saying all this means that when you need to do a sailing team and when you need to put together people towards an objective, is not only about weight, is not only about friendship, but it's also about experience. So when you choose someone, you need to know what is the role for him and which is the best one amongst these ones, and then keep it in mind. So this is how I personally see the responsibilities on board. It's not over because we are not only on the boat, we are speaking about a more generic thing. So there is also something to be done on shore. So regarding the onshore part, there are some pre-race rituals which needs to be done every day. This because if you have like kind of a list of things, list of actions to do, you just free your mind and you can be calm before the beginning of the race. This is done on shore. So when you wake up after the breakfast, you need to think about a set of stuff. So it can be trivial for you, like for example clothing, but trust me, it's really, really important. The clothing, for example, if the temperature, the weather might change during the day. you can if you're not prepared for that, you can have some problems. So there is someone, I personally, I do like this. So I will speak with someone on board in the crew, and I will tell him, so for the next 5 days you will be responsible of having all the clothes of everyone and ask them if they are okay with what we're bringing on board. So there is someone thinking about the clothing. It doesn't really matter if he's the bowman or the tactician or the main sail trimmer. This is something completely different, something that is done at the hotel when you're going to the venue. Then there is the part of study of the sailing instruction and the notice of race. Basically, 90% of the sailor, they arrive to the race, they will sit down at the briefing, at the skipper briefing, and they don't have any clue of what is written in the sailing instruction. We'll speak about deeper. We'll speak about that deeper after, but here is just to say that there is also someone which needs to have this in mind. Read the schedule of the race, read the course, the sailing areas, the obstacles. It can be, the sailing area can be next to an harbor, so there can be a channel. The sailing area can be 1 hour and a half away, so this is something to know at least when to dock out. So this is a big topic which needs to be kept in mind. Then there is the weather, of course. What I personally do before the race, I will always open my, I don't know, let's say 3 or 4 apps. I will compare them based on different models, and I will try to figure out which is the tendency of the wind during the day. I will try to see if next to the sailing area there are big hills, big mountains, and then also don't forget about this, because here I think we are all used to sail in the Mediterranean Sea or in the Black Sea, which, to my knowledge, is not a place known for big currents. But don't forget that if you go in the ocean, you can find places where the currents it really counts. So the tidal currents is something that is really predictable. So before going out in the morning, what I suggest you to do, and what I suggest you to give to someone the responsibility to do, is look at the tidal charts and see where the current is going, when is the max tide during the day, when is the minimum tide, so that you have an idea. I say you this based on my experience. Again, I always sailed in the Mediterranean Sea. So the first time I went, it was in the US. I went to a race in the US, in New York, and I didn't take into account the currents. And suddenly I was going upwind. I want the boats seemed to go front to going sailing good. And then I looked at the instruments, and I was doing 0.1 knots. And then I realized there was a current. And then I realized that all of the rest of the fleet, they took into account the currents, and then I screwed up the race. So think about this also. Then there is also the boat preparation, of course. So the boat preparation is something that all of the crew needs to do together, but there is always someone which is more technical, which is more organized, which knows the boats better than others. So there is always a responsible also in this part of the preparation. So if you are doing a fleet race with your boat, you need to set the mast, choose the sails, and doing marks on the halyards, on the jib sheets, on the mainsail. If you're doing a match race, probably the boat, you cannot touch the mast setting, but you can do a lot of stuff before that. So also in this case, what I would do in a race is to have 2 or 3 people which are responsible again for that. And the rest of the people, they think about something else, and they jump on board, and they see at their things, but they will not go to all the boats and ask and see if everything is set good. Last but not least, think about food and water. So again, here, it's a trivial thing, you're thinking right now, what is he saying? Why is saying us to bring food on board? Well, trust me, it's important. It's important because you can do a long day on the water. The sailing area can be 1 hour and a half sailing away from the shore. So you need to think about this. And again, I suggest you to give the responsibility of thinking about food and water to only one person, or 2 persons, which are responsible for that. I will not get into what we bring to eat on board and how many bottle of water do we bring, because at the end you definitely can figure it out by yourself. What I'm saying here is that is a topic to keep in mind before going out and sail. It can be a training, it can be also a race. It happened a lot of time to me to go out in the water, maybe for a training of 2 hours in summer, and forget water. You completely waste the day. You really throw it away in the bin, because after half an hour you would be dehydrated, and that's it. So here, an overview of what I think before going out in the water. And it's not what I think, but is what the whole crew thinks. And again, what I ask you and what I think it's useful is to give a responsibility to every member of the crew. So in this case, you have 5 circles, then you have 5 people to think about this. Let's go onward, and here I will speak you about some tools and actions that I personally do with my team, and I think it can be useful also for you. Again, what I would like to leave you after this webinar is something useful, something that you can use in the future. So I don't want only to speak about general stuff. So let's go. Before I will talk about this famous mysterious document, which is the sailing instructions, then I will speak about how I manage briefings and how I manage so when to do them, how much I normally make them last, and what we discuss about. Then I will briefly talk about the fact that videos, why I always take video of my trainings, not only for Instagram stories or posts, but also because they're very useful, and GPS tracking. And at the end, I will talk about the checklist. So, sailing instructions. Sailing instruction is a piece of paper which is given from the organization, and it is given normally 1 or 2 days before, if it's a good organization. But sometimes it happened to me also that they gave it to me like the first day of racing, which is quite tight because you need to study it. It contains a lot of information. Let's say that 60% of the information it contains are useless. They talk about sponsors and where is the venue, things that you already know probably. But there is some of them that are very, very useful, and they can change your race. So first of all, number and weights limits for the crew. This is something that is in the sailing instruction, but is also in the notice of race. The notice of race is another document which is published way before, let's say 3 months, 4 months before the race. This is important because you need to choose your crew if you are a team manager. So you need to know how many of you can be on board and which is the weight. So let's say I will speak about match race because it's something that I experienced not long ago. In match race, the crew weight is really important. Basically, if you have a limit, and normally the limit is always there, is a maximum weight limit, you need to go at the limit. There is none. There are no situation where you can be light. Even if you're going in a place where you expect light wind, if you are a heavy crew, it helps when you roll the boat, when you do pre-start maneuvers. So it always helps to have a big limit weight. So what we normally do is to study the notice of race, see the weight, decide the person that will enjoy the race, and calculate to the maximum weight limit. And we will probably go the day before and we will be plus 10 kilos, then we lose liquids and we go down. So this is a really useful information. In the sailing instruction, you can also find the event format. So if it will be, let's say, 3 races per day, how many races you can discard, if there will be a medal race, if there is quarterfinals, semifinals, finals, and stuff like that. And the schedule, of course. Then you have the race course and the marks color, and also the changing procedures. This is really important. The race courses can be simple, can be also complex. If you have two fleet, for example, if you are in a big fleet of, let's say, J70, and the committee decides to go for 2 fleets, so probably the race course will change from one fleet to another. So it's very important. The call of the marks, of course, is important, and also the changing procedure. Then there is a section dedicated to the prohibited and permitted actions that I will speak about later. And if there are obstacles, if there are ferry crossing the course, so a lot of useful information. I suggest you really to study this document and to not just ignore it, as 90% of the person that I know do. So I will. So here I took an example of how sailing instruction is done. I took some chapters. Here you can see the entry fee, for example. Then you can see the number of crew. Normally, the number of crew is different if there is a mixed crew, or in a case there is a full female crew. Here, for example, there is no crew limit. It's something strange, but it can happen. In this part, you have the prohibited actions, for example. Something that is always creating problems is the prohibited action related to the bowsprit extension. I suggest you to go straight to that, because I took a lot of penalties because I didn't read this part of the sailing instruction. So read it carefully. Then, of course, there is the race course. So this is quite simple. You already saw, and if you are experienced, you have shown it a lot of times. So just have a clear idea of where are the marks, which color is it, and also if there is the possibility of a course change or of a course shortening. This is something that you read it here, you keep it in mind, and then when you are on boat, when you're racing, you need to have it in mind, because you cannot take the sailing instruction. Oh, at least you can do it, but I don't think you will have time to take the sailing instruction and read it carefully when you are on the boat racing. So, summary: keep in mind to read the sailing instruction before the race. This is my personal advice. So here, it's another tool that I always used, is doing briefing before, during, and after the races. it helps to do a lot of stuff. It improves the communication, but it also helps to consolidate the good things that you've done during the day and to remember, and the errors to avoid. In a perfect world, when you do a mistake, the day after you will not repeat it. It's often not the case, but the briefing will definitely help you to go in that direction. What I normally do is to do a briefing before the dockout with the whole team together. It would normally last around 5 to 10 minutes. It depends really on how much time do we have. And in this briefing, all the responsible of the roles that I said before, so the onshore roles, will talk, and we'll talk about the responsibility. So there is one that is presenting the weather condition to everyone, the currents to everyone. There is one which is doing a recap of the responsibilities on board. So who will do the ley line calls, who will called for the time during the pre-start, for example. So there is a general recap of who is doing what on board. Then there is a part of the schedule. If it's a training, we will probably tell what is the exercises that we're doing in the training. If it's a race, we'll tell when is the start time and when we need to be in the water. Then we do a check of the boat all together, and we do the checklist. So the checklist I will discuss about it later. Then there is a part of a briefing on the water. This needs to be really brief. It needs to last about 3 or 5 minutes maximum, because the less we speak on the water, the better it is. Because on the water, the assumption is that we already defined everything. So the less we speak, the better it is. We'll discuss about sails and boat settings, which needs to be discussed on the water because we need to try them. Then we'll discuss about the actual current and wind direction and intensity, because we had the forecast, but now we are in the water. We can measure it. We can put the sponge next to a mark, and with the timer, we can see where the current is coming and which is the intensity. Again, they need to be really, really, really fast, these briefings, and they need to be effective. And then at the end of the day, when we have done everything, it can be a bad day, it can be a good day, it can be an average day. In my opinion, it needs to be done always. We have a briefing of the end of the day. Trust me, it's difficult to do it when it's a bad day, but it's the time when it's most useful. It's also difficult to do it if it was a perfect day, because sometimes you go after a day where you won every single race, you get on shore and you just forget to do the briefing because you are happy and it's all good. But also in that case, it's useful, because one of the things that you do at the end of the day is the capitalization. What I do with my team is just take an iPad or a piece of paper and write down the wind in direction, wind intensity, which are the tactical decisions that we took that worked, which are the errors that we did, and we write down everything. It can happen that you get to the venue 2 times in 1 year, or maybe you will go in a place this year and then you will get back the next year. If you have a piece of paper or an iPad file or whatever that is saying which were the condition that you encountered the last time, it helps you a lot. Then you can look at the video. What I normally do if I'm in training, you just put the video on the television and you just go scroll the videos and see if there is something to say. And then you just do a round of the table with all the people and say, what do you think it worked? What do you think it can be improved? And this is the time of the briefing where every single person needs to bring something to the crew. This said, just keep this in mind. We are speaking before, at the end of the day on the water, but avoid any discussion during the races. During the races is not the moment to discuss. You just distract yourself is completely useful, and it will not stay in your mind if you discuss about something during races. So avoid any kind of discussion during races. So this is how I normally do it. You, again, feel free to do it as you want, but in my opinion, discussing of what happened during the day is really, really important. So keep it in mind. So this is a brief slide. I know that I think all of you knows already how to use a camera or a GPS watch, but yeah, just keep in mind numbers are always right. It happens a lot of time that I'm on the boat and I feel the boat fast, and then my tactician just show me the numbers, and actually we're going slow, and then we change something and we can go faster. So today is very easy to have a watch with the GPS connection and to have the speed data and the direction and the tracking. So why not using it? Just use them during when you are in the water. Try to watch the tracking when you are on shore after the races. It's a source of information which is really, really useful nowadays. And also, if you have a GoPro or something to put on the boat, just put it behind with a fisheye view, and you can see everyone what they are doing, and you can discuss about it later in the briefing. So I found it useful. I just want to share it with you. You probably already do it, but yeah, that's what I have to say on this topic. This is the last tool that I want to share with you. It's something that I think we invented, kind of. It's something that is used in aviation. If someone of you it's a pilot, they probably already know how to use a checklist and also a memory checklist. But it's the first. I mean, I never saw someone using it on a boat, or at least during a competition. So a checklist basically is a list of tasks, of information you want to find out, of things you need to take into account that you need to do to ensure that everything is working well. What I do is to have a printed checklist for each member of the crew. I just print it on paper and then I plastified it so that it doesn't get wet. And in this checklist, I will put a list of items, and what normally happens is that there is a responsible for this checklist which reads the items, and the rest of the crew, they check if the item is checked, and they will reply. So here I put an example. The reader will say life jackets. The crew will check if all the life jackets are on board, and they will reply to the reader, and the reader passes to the next item. It's useful if you use it. It's a piece of paper, so you can easily forget to do the checklist. You cannot do a checklist to remember to do the checklist, but you need to get used to it. Why the checklists are useful? So, in my opinion, preparing the boat for a race or for a training require a lot of tasks, from the morning until when you get to the venue, when you jump on board, and when you dock out. So the checklist is a way to unload your mind and not leaving anything to the chance. Do not hesitate to put also the stupidest item in the checklist. I will show you some example of my checklist after, and you will see that also some simple stuff is in the checklist, and I'm not ashamed of that. So when to do it? I have different checklists for every, let's say, every milestone of the day. So I have a checklist before going to the venue. When I wake up in the morning, I do breakfast, and then with the crew, we will do the checklist together. And it's something that is useful because in the morning you always forget something. So it's just a reminder to bring all the gear with you. And also, if you forget the sunglasses, it will not be the end of the day, but still it will affect your mood. So it is useful, trust me. Then you have the before docking out checklist, which is something more technical. It's related to the preparation of the boat and to what to bring on board. Again, if you're going in a sailing area which is far away, once you're in the middle of the sea, that's it. If you forget something, you forgot it, and it can change your day. And then I have a checklist before the start. So before the 5 minutes or the 3 minutes if you're doing a match race, or the 7 minutes, you do some actions which are listed in the checklist, and this helps you to again unload your mind and be as chill as possible before a race. So this is the part where I speak, and now I would like to do a small game with you, an exercise. Before, what I will do is to answer your questions if you have questions on the previous slides. And after, we will do a small exercise. I will ask to you, in your opinion, which are the items to put in the checklist. We will write it down in a board that I will share, and then I will show you my checklist, and we'll see which are the different items that we put in the checklist. So I see that there are two questions in the Q&A section. I invite you to put more questions, and feel free. There are no stupid questions. There are only stupid answers. So just go for it. So I will reply to Bogdan, who is asking if the SI is not normally for a match race. Well, the SIs is not only for a match race. It's the sailing instructions are used in every race. Also for a fleet race, you have the sailing instructions. The SI that I brought you as an example is from a umpired fleet race. So also in the case of an umpired fleet race, you have the sailing instruction. For a team race, you have the sailing instruction. Any discipline that I know, you will have a document which is called sailing instruction, and it will list every information that I told you before. So okay, he told me to ignore the previous question, so I just replied. So Bogdan is asking, the schematics seem to be a form a fleet race, the marks being left to port. That's why I ask again. Sorry, it's not important. Okay. So again, don't feel free to ask any question. It's not there is no importance if the question is related to what I said or just a curiosity. So Yazen is asking if we race in flights, what is recommended for the crew to do during the breaks, to watch other racers or to relax? Well, this is a nice question. There is this is something personal. In my team, for example, there are some of us which are more interested in watching other races to understand which is the win condition, if it's changing, also what the opponents are doing, who's winning. But at the same time, there are some of us which loves to relax, and if they relax, they perform better in the next race. So it's really, really personal. This, I would not say that there is a correct answer to this question. So here we have another match race question. For the match race, do we need the tactician, and does the helm have enough time to listen in the pre-start? Definitely yes. So what normally happens in match race, the pre-start is very tight. There is not a lot of time to think about the next move. So the helm does the 90% of the stuff without actually listening to someone else. But what the tactician does in the pre-start, in particular, he gives information to the helm. So what he gives is if the wind is changing during the pre-start in some shifty condition, it can happen, or if which is the position of the boat, if we are above the committee ley line, if we are above the pin and ley line, or on the pin and lane. This is something that comes from the tactician, and it definitely helps the helm while he's doing his pre-start procedures. So I have here Stefan, who is asking, is SRM part of the SI? So I never saw the chapter safety risk management in the SI, but it could happen that is in the document, yes. In my experience, I never saw it, but the SI is not a fixed format, so it can happen also that it's in the document. So I have another question who's saying, what do you do when in the crew you have more than one helm? Okay, so you're speaking about America's Cup, or maybe also about big boats. It can happen that you have two helms. It is difficult to manage this situation because the helm normally tends to take control of the boat, and if you have two person that do that, it can be a problem. But the key again in that occasion is to have a good communication and a good responsibility structure. So if you have two helm, you have to know who is in charge of what. If you have a port and a starboard helm, then you know that the port helm will do this, and during the upwind on import, and the starboard helm will do something else. So it's just a matter of deciding what to do before the race. Is not only if we have two helm, is always like that. So Stephanie Latkin, and also a checklist in the sailing instruction. There's not such thing as a checklist for sure. Okay, so I will wait for 1 or 2 minutes if you have another question, and we will try to go quickly into the exercise of creating our own checklist. Okay, Florina is asking, if the wind is not strong enough to give the start of the race and the crew has to wait on water until it kicks off, I usually have found that people get tired, sun is melting them down. It can happen. I agree with that, especially if you don't bring sunscreen with you. What are the best ways to have experience to keep the energy and mood high in such situation and not lose momentum? Okay, so here we have two things, I think. First of all is the preparation. If you need to wait on the water and you have everything you need to wait on the water, then it gets easier. If you need to wait on the water under the sun and you have sun protection and you have water and you have mineral salt and you have food and you have some music, if you have speakers, then it gets way, way easier to do that. So again, it's about preparation. In my experience, to keep the mood high, I would recommend to just disconnect the brain to the race. Do not stay. I always see people that are stressed about the fact that the race is not going to start and they just want the race to start, and the stress goes up, and then when the race starts they are not in the best shape. So just disconnect the brain. This is our sport. Sailing is made of also of waiting for the win. So I would say do not think about the race in that period of time. Just think about something else, chat with the crew, and keep the mood high. Okay, here we have Alexander who's asking any tips for developing crew members on different position and find their best fit. We often have very mixed crew. So that's a good question. Crew members are decided based on different skills and parameters. Generally, who's more physical, who's the bigger. If you see like big sailors with big muscles, they probably be around the middle of the boat. There are trimmers, mainsail trimmer, jib trimmer. If you see some agile person, which can go up and down in the boat and go up the mast, then that's would probably be a bowman. So I would say that one thing to take into account when you find the best position is to take into account the physicality of the person. Is not only this, is also about what do you like and what you are which skill do you have, and also the experience. If I have a really experienced sailor, I would give him a role of responsibility, such as the tactician or the strategist. If I have a beginner sailor, I would probably put him in a role where he has not many things to think about, and the action are quite mechanic. So it really depends. But I would say first thing first, the physicality. We are speaking about a sport, and as a sport, we need to take into account our physical skills. So Risto is asking, what if the helm is obviously making bad decision and is doing poorly? You just you should fight him. No, I'm kidding. It happens a lot of time. It happens a lot of time when the helm is doing poor decision, and then at the end the responsibility is always of the crew. It happened to me, and I saw a lot of people which are upset with their helmet because he's doing this. I would say that is also in that case is a matter of communication. Keep the mood always good in the race and offshore, and then you just discuss about the problem at the briefing at the end of the day. If the helm is making bad decision, you don't have any power on that, so you just do your best to try to make the best of any situation, but do not fight during the races, because can only get worse. It requires a bit of patience, of course. I agreed on the fact that it's not always easy to support, to go to understand what the helm and the tactician are saying, because they are in the back of the boat. Normally they take decision without asking to anyone. So just breathe, and at the end of the day, keep in mind what is not going on, what is going on, what is the mistake, and share it during the briefing. So about the Balfrit, it's a good practice to have clarification from the umpire or jury how they will interpret the SI. Yes, of course, Alba. It's a good practice always to ask clarification to the umpires, because the umpires, they are there for you. So if you ask them anything about their sailing instruction, the notice of race, the course, the obstacles, something about the boats that is not going good, so always go to the umpires. Try to keep that in mind before going offshore, and also during the races. Again, before going to an umpire to ask them something, you need to have in mind what is written in the sailing instruction. That's why it's important to read them before. So Katalin is saying, in your experience, what's the wind speed limits for the starts? Well, that's a generic question. I would say that it depends really on what boat you're on. There are some classes where you cannot sail under 6 knots, and there are some classes where you cannot sail under 10 knots, or you cannot sail above 20. It really depends on the race. This is something that is in the hands of the committee boat and then on the committee, and you cannot have any control on that. So what I would suggest you is to be prepared for any decision of the committee boat. So Christy is asking, how do I make a valuable training program in pre-season? How many hours on the water can be taken into consideration to make an efficient training session? Should we make like a checklist with the maneuvers we want to train, and how we measure improvement? Okay, this is a good question. There is no fixed amount of hours on the water that you need to take into consideration. Basically, the more you do it, the best it is. So it really depends on what is your goal. If you're doing an Olympic classes, probably you would train every day. If you're doing offshore racing, you would train 1 week, full week, and then you will wait for 1 month. So the amount of hour of days on the water is not fixed. The fixed thing is to take the best of every training. And what you're saying here, what you're saying about the checklist, is a really good idea. When you have a training day, the best thing to do is to keep it the more efficient possible. And to do this, you need to have a list of exercise to do during the day, so you exactly know what you will do, and how much time it will take, and which is the goal of the day. How to measure the improvement? As I told you before, you can watch your tracking, GPS tracking, you can watch your videos, and then you can do the same. What I normally do is, if I have something that is not going good, like a jibe set or a difficult maneuver, just go to do that. Like, you repeat that 10 times, and I will ensure you that during these 10 times you will see an improvement. So Siga is asking, for a crew of 3, how is the organization on board? Well, also in that case, it depends of the people, but normally in a crew of 3 people, the helm is also doing the mainsail. Then the trimmer is doing jib sheets and spinnaker sheets, and the bowman is doing the rest. Of course, in a crew of 3, all the responsibilities that I told you about in the slides, they kind of merge in the same person. So of course it can be difficult, and the less people are on board, the more things you need to think about. So it can be difficult, but I trust me, in a crew of 3 you would sail probably as in a crew of 4. Just the helm is normally takes the main sail sheet. Do you have a pre-race routine, warm-up drills before the race? Yes, Alba. I have a pre-race routine. We always do the same things. We always take the same reference points. For example, we try the ley line. We have, like, again, it's written in a checklist. So what I will show you now is the checklist that we have, because I think we are quite late to do the game that I had in mind, but I will show you what I have in my checklist. So you can take an example and then you can modify it and put it applicable to your case. So, example. This is a checklist that I have. It's a checklist for J70 boats. I assume that most of you, they know the boat. There are 3 kind of checklists, as I told you before: the morning checklist, the before dockout checklist, and the pre-start checklist. Here, for example, in the morning checklist, I think about drinking water, lunch packs, life jackets, all stupid stuff. But trust me, in the morning, it can be really useful to have something to read and to check item by item. Then in the before dockout checklist, I have something more specific, more technical. Again, drinking water. We can see we have to check if in the boat there is water. Maybe in the night there was rain and the boat is full of water. You need to check about that. Some other things is to do the marks. So what I normally do is to do marks on the sheets, on the halyards, on the tack line. It's a routine that I have always before going out, docking out. So these are 2 checklists. And then once that we dock out, what we do is to do the pre-start checklist. The pre-start checklist, rather than checks, it contains actions to do. So I will quickly show you the pre-start check. So once that we are in the race course, what we do is to go upwind and we set the jib car position. For example, we put the jib sheets mark. We test the angle of the upwind. We test the target speed using, again, some watches or a GPS compass. Then in the downwind, we try always to hoist and drop the spinnaker once before the races to check that is all clear. And in the start, we took some measurements. So we measure the time that it takes to go from the RC boat to the pin end. Then we measure the time that it takes to go around the committee boat, in case you are OCS, for example, how much time you get to go around. We take some references, and then we always do a backward, some 10 meters backwards, to see if there are some seaweed or plastic bags under the water before the race. So these are the example. Here you can see the reference that I take normally. So here is the committee boat ley line. If I have something on shore, here is a lighthouse, but you can have whatever you want. And here is as how I take the line reference, with always something on shore, like a house or a tree or whatever. So I got the last 2 questions, but then I think the time has gone. So I will reply to both of them. So have you been penalized for Rule 242 in match race, and how to avoid getting penalized rocking, sculling, and pumping? Yes, of course, I've been penalized multiple times for Route 42, not only in match race, also in fleet race. Rule 42 is a rule that is really in the hands of the umpire. So it's something that is interpreted in different ways, and there is no like black and white for Rule 42. But still, you can enter in the mind of the umpire and then avoid to get penalized by doing something specific. For example, do not go up and down multiple times with your weight, but try to let's say try to think before or of where your weight needs to be and put yourself before and then press. It's kind of difficult to explain it but with the words, but it's a good way to avoid getting penalized is to think where to go with your body before the maneuver that we're doing. If you are head to wind and then you go upwind, and doing this, you go on the left and on the right and then the left again, they will give you a penalty for sure. But if you're at wind and you're going to go upwind on port, for example, and you begin to put your weight already on the right side of the boat and then you press, then it's a completely different thing. So there are some tips and tricks to avoid Rule 44, but still think that is something completely in the hand of the umpires. Last question is asking, how do you make boat speed assessment regarding some decision after training, taking in consideration wind speed change? Well, you need to have something that gives you the data. So the boat speed assessment is something that you have thanks to the GPS. If you don't have a GPS, but you have someone that is doing a race with you as you're training with you and has the same boat, then it's a good reference for the speed. But I understand what you're asking. So if the wind changes during the race and then the speed also changes, I would say that the best thing to do is to set a reference, and if the wind changes, you just move the reference. So I know that the speed reference for these conditions is, I don't know, 6 knots. If we have more wind, then the reference gets 7.5 knots, and then you play on the reference. Of course, you know that sailing is a matter of multiple things: waves, currents, speed of the wind, boat. So the important thing is to have some reference for every condition. Okay, so this was the last question. Hopefully it was useful for you. Do not hesitate to put other questions if you have it in mind, or to send a mail to Yazen. I will probably answer during the week. And I hope to see you again in the next seminar. The next one will be with Stevie, and it will be next Tuesday. Thank you again for participating, and see you next time, guys. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Rocco, for the great presentation. I think it was helpful for everyone. Questions, all the questions. So thank you everyone for participating, and you can send me questions if you have some, so we will try to answer them. I have an idea to create some Facebook group just to share some questions and answers, and I hope you are happy with the Roku presentation.
Diana is asking if I can share the slides. Yes, we can share the slide. I will let Yazen do it if you have a mailing list. He will share it to you.
Okay, have a good night, everyone.
Bye bye, guys.